All right, we're live again. This is Joe McCarthy, MoJOE Studio. Happy to have three guests today, which is new for me. Actually, new for all of us, I'm guessing. I've got Rick Olson here, J-Dub, which is Jon Weirauch, and our new friend, well, my new friend, Rick's old friend, RYAN Bartholomew. So I'm going to hand this off to Rick Olson and let you take the lead.
Thanks, Joe. It is great to be with you folks. I'm so excited about the mix of people we have on here tonight. If you've been listening, Joe and I have been doing some interesting podcasts in recent weeks. Jon is going to jump in with us. We're going to do a lot of them in the future. We're very excited about that. And tonight, we're thrilled to be spending a little time with RYAN Bartholomew. I'm down here with him in Austin, Texas, and spending a couple days with RYAN and his team. I can't tell you how impressed I am with this man, with his vision, with the company, and with where this company is going. So RYAN is the CEO of a concrete company, a ready-mix company called RYAN Concrete. They have over 400 employees. They have over 300 trucks, over 25 plants, soon to be 30 plants, and they're building the most significant buildings and skyscrapers and bridges down here in Austin, Texas, and they're doing a fabulous job. One of the things that impresses me a great deal about RYAN and his team is that they've absolutely committed to the world-class service message. So they do tough work all day long, but they do it with a Ritz-Carlton Nordstrom approach in how they treat every one of their customers and how they treat every one of their employees. I've been here a number of times, and I'm just captivated by what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I've learned so many interesting things about concrete from hanging out with RYAN and his team. But let me introduce him to you, and we'll get started that way. So RYAN, I'd like you just to greet our friends who are listening. We're anxious to ask you lots of questions about concrete and leadership and life and things like that. But if you just want to give a general greeting to the folks, and then we'll begin to ask you a few questions.
Absolutely. That was a very kind introduction, Rick. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure to know Rick for many years and work with him to help our company with direction. So greetings to all friends listening. I'm glad to be here. Hope I can contribute in some fashion today.
Well, you will contribute a lot. Let's get started with some interesting stuff. One of the things that just really got to me when I first started is all the things about concrete that I didn't know, that I'd never even thought about. And I begin to hear from you guys how your trucks are designed, temperatures of the concrete that goes out. Why don't you start by just telling folks a few things that most people probably wouldn't know about concrete?
Absolutely. You know, probably wouldn't know that we actually have over 1,000 mixed designs. Most people think that concrete is just concrete, right? It's the stuff in the truck, it gets hard. But there are chemists and engineers behind a large variety of mixes that do all kinds of things, from making a curb to going into a pump looking like water, pumping up 60 stories, and coming out on the top as a solid product. And there's chemicals involved and hydration processes and liquid nitrogen and all kinds of things that we do to this concrete that most people don't know about.
I've met your mixer guys, and they're like mad scientists every morning coming up with the right formula for the day based on the temperature, based on humidity. I mean, stuff I never even thought about. But man, am I impressed with how smart your guys are to figure all that stuff out.
They really are. They absolutely are.
Tell us about the trucks. You have over 300 of them. And by the way, they are the prettiest trucks in Austin, Texas. I've driven all over this town. I see your trucks everywhere. Never once have I ever seen a dirty RYAN concrete truck. Every time they're gleaming, shining white. It's another part of your Ritz-Carlton world-class service experience. But tell people a little bit about the trucks, because even they have to be structured a little differently to carry the weight of the concrete.
They are. A lot of folks don't know that a full load of concrete might be around about 40,000 pounds, so 20 tons. And this concrete, you've seen the drums turn on these trucks. It crawls up the left side of this truck, which torques the truck way over to the left. Then when it reaches the top, it falls right back into the bottom. So you have this very unstable mass moving down the road with a very high center of gravity. So these trucks, they're built, the leaf springs and the suspension, everything on the left trucks is just beefed up to take that impact climbing the left side. And a lot of folks don't know either that if you turn the corner 8-9 miles an hour and that concrete is crawling up the side, you're going over. It's very dangerous. And so, we take it extra slow around corners, and sometimes people don't understand, they don't understand why we're going so slow. But those are some of the characteristics that a lot of folks don't know.
So I don't know the exactly why, but I feel like there's a reason it's the left side, right? And you can only spin it one way, you can't spin it the other way.
Well, when you're going that direction, it just happens to be left. The fins are shaped that it's pushing the concrete toward the front of the drum. And then when you reverse it, it pulls the concrete on, pushes it back out the hole. So driving down the road, obviously you have to keep it going that one direction. Now, when you get to the job and stop, you reverse that drum and it all comes out the back. So, and you have to keep the drum rotating while you're driving, because that 40,000 pound is sitting on big steel rollers. And if you're stopped, you're creating a flat spot. If that drum is stationary. So, you always keep the drum rotating, and the speed at which it rotates is very important too for different scenarios. So,
is there specific drivers training that they have to go through specific to driving a cement truck?
There really is. They're all CDL holders, commercial driver's license, but it is a very niche thing. We have a very extensive training, rollover prevention. I mean, it's days long, weeks long, actually, before you get released. If you were to come off the street as a commercial driver, you would have weeks, if not a month or so, before you're released.
Impressive.
And you have, Ryan, I believe Kurt is still working with your safety program. Tell us a little bit about such an important role at your company. What does he do, and what is your emphasis on safety?
Well, safety is our number one core value, because it's a very dangerous industry. Primarily, not just because of the road and the auto liability, but you're around heavy equipment, you're on construction sites. OSHA is heavily involved in absolutely everything we do. So having a solid safety department, and I guess from a software perspective and hardware perspective, you would not believe the things we have to keep ourselves safe. The restrictions on the trucks and their speeds and how fast they can go turning around corners. We have so many things. So we have this awesome gentleman, Kurt Holman, that leads that department. And underneath him, we have multiple folks who take care of the DOT side, or the incident side, the truck safety and plant safety side. So pretty extensive department.
Well, they do a great job. It is a very dangerous job. I was just with them today, and we were celebrating this very long stretch of not having any incidents whatsoever. So hats off to you and your team. Every day right there, but emphasizing safety, living it out, putting lots of energy into it, and it's paying off. Would you talk a little bit about temperatures? I find that fascinating too, that the temperature of the mix that leaves your place has to be within a kind of a small window. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, certainly, yeah. There are tolerances, especially if it's a textile job or a highway job or even a city or municipality. You can only have to be under a certain temperature when you arrive, and they're all different. But the chemical reaction creates heat. So naturally, your concrete is warming as you go. And living in Texas and having 110-degree days doesn't help. So we have a lot of different methods to mitigate that, so that we can cool that concrete at the plant to a certain temperature, calculate the travel, the heat, the humidity, and land within the right spec. Rick, we use liquid nitrogen is one of the funnest things. We use a lot of ice, but there comes a point when ice will only cool so much that we inject liquid nitrogen into the drums in some locations, and at the others we inject it at the plant as it's creating or as it's loading the mix, and we cool that down. Sometimes 40, 50 degrees below ambient temperature, just so we can arrive on the job at the right spec.
So I'd like to jump in with a question, Ryan. Why concrete? What got you started into the concrete industry from the very beginning?
So I grew up in it as well. My father had a Trinity Valley Concrete Company, and we did a lot of precast. So I grew up in this industry. Went to college, ended up in the oil and gas industry, and just coincidentally, my brother-in-law had founded the company, RYAN, this company, and I partnered with him. It's coming up on 20 years ago. It was a good offer. Wanted to come back home to Texas, and it was an industry that I knew. I did it.
So yes, the man has jumped in here, and the company has grown dramatically. When you started, Ryan, how many plants, how many people did you have in those early days?
We had 23 trucks, I believe, 24 drivers, okay. 3 locations.
All right.
We were just getting started.
Yes, you were, and what a story. I'd like to bring in the workplace culture aspect. So many of our people, they're very focused on that, creating a great place to work, a great service providing place. And you have embraced that message at such a high level. You've done some amazing things with your workplace culture. Tell us about your desire to do that, your quest to do that, kind of what that looks like today. How have you mixed the ready mix business with world-class service?
Sure, that's a very long story. I'll give you the short version. Really, ready mix and construction in general is kind of a tough and tumble type industry. World class is not a word that even goes with it, especially with concrete. You've got a lot of rough people and a rough environment. It's just get the job done any way you can, right? It's just been a culture for a long time, and so we set out to just do something different, differentiate ourselves from our competition, and the big focus was our employees. It doesn't have to be that way. This can be a place you come and enjoy coming to work and have fun and love on each other, treat each other like brothers and sisters. So we had all those ideas, and at the same time, we were also trying to be the best ready mix, but we never really qualified or quantified what does that mean. So all these things we're trying to get our hands around, and quite frankly, we a lot of that spark, or a lot of the direction came after my wife traveled to Denver and was involved in some training around world-class service at the Ritz-Carlton. Rick was involved with that, and she came home and shared it with me, and it got us very excited, real excited. We wanted to be the Ritz-Carlton of ready mix, and we said that as my guys, and we started talking about it. We're going to be the Ritz-Carlton of ready mix, and people laughed at us. I'll just tell you, our competition, we're all friends, they're like, what are you guys doing? Really? You want to provide a world-class experience? That's exactly what we wanted to do, and it's been our goal ever since. Rick really helped us shape that and help us sit down as a team and write that out and put some goals and start shooting for them. And we love pulling from the hospitality industry and making it work in our in construction. It works. It's been a great trip.
So I'd like to hop in quick, and I will tell you I am quite humbled. I was like, oh yeah, Rick, I grew up a concrete guy. I grew up with my dad. He was a mason, and nowhere near the scale of what we're talking about here. This is just peanuts. But I will tell you, knowing the type of people that drive trucks, and like you said, it's kind of like a rougher type crew. I have a twofold question for you. One, how did you have any pushback from these guys who aren't used to focusing on culture, aren't used to focusing on leadership and culture development? Did any of your staff have issues with that? How did you get over it? And overall, if you could say something to others in this industry as to why it is so important to focus on these type of things, even in the industry that you're in.
I will, and I did have a lot of pushback from some of the folks who'd been around a long time and quite frankly did not grasp or did not embrace what we were doing. And I guess the bottom line is they're not here. To stay on the team and move forward, you're required to want to do that and to buy into that. And really, and there wasn't a whole lot of folks back then, right? We didn't have a lot of folks. But what I've done is first hired people a heck of a lot smarter than I am, but people who have the same thought process, and they're on board before they ever come. So you're spending a lot of time on who we hire has been very important. It's very important now, even for drivers. There's we kind of say this and laugh a little bit, but if their parents couldn't teach them what makes us think we could, and Rick's taught some of that too in some of these classes. So we spend a lot of time now in the interview process, and we just try not to bring anyone in that doesn't embrace this culture. So there's how that started. And the second part, if you'll repeat that one more time.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that's excellent. I mean, you made a decision to be the Ritz-Carlton of your industry, of your location in Texas there, and you stuck with it. And you if people weren't on board, you had to make some decisions there. So that's really cool. And of course, the hiring process from here on out, you're really vetting out who you bring in. The second part of my question is just for others in, let's say, similar industries that are working with a lot more blue collar workers, a lot of people who aren't used to even talking about culture or understanding the benefits of having a positive workplace culture. What could you say to them as to the impact it has had on you and your organization?
I would say to them that our people are the most important part of our whole business. There's a age-old argument: is it the customer, is it the employee? I'll contend any day that you create an environment where everyone that works with you is respected. It's probably the absolute most important thing, that they're respected in every aspect of their job. And then you love on those people as hard as you can, genuinely, sincerely. And that is sustainable. And it's not just sustainable, it will explode in growth and word of mouth and just the culture in general. I will say that I've worked in corporate situations, a lot of friends in corporate situations, or situations where just you crack the whip and you're harsh and you do whatever it takes to get the job done. That's great. You can perform that way, but it's not sustainable, not for the employee and not for the corporation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ryan, could you touch a little bit on the core values? I thought that was a huge step for your organization. You took some significant time and created core values, and they've really been a guiding light for you. Talk a little bit about that process.
You bet. And that was part of trying to find our identity. And we sat around a table hours at a time for months. And we did. We identified 8 key areas, and I don't know how we came up with the 8 key areas that we felt the strongest about. And then we prioritized them. We kind of ranked them in order, and safety, was at the top. But that helped us. Each of those core values, and then we put a line or a sentence under each, what that meant to us. And so we've got those 8 core values, and they're safety, integrity, respect, teamwork. A lot of the things that you hear some of the companies, But each of those, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into each of those. And we believe it. We believe it wholeheartedly. And we've been doing it for years now, and it works.
So I found in my experience in organizational development, Ryan, that having a core value or having a mission statement and living core values or living a mission statement are often not the same thing. And so it sounds like you've got an organization that not only has a great mission statement and core values, but you actually embody them. So what's the magic there? Or what would you recommend to people to take it from the piece of paper into people's heads and minds out into the workplace where it actually plays itself out every day?
Well, a couple of things. One, a lot of folks need to be involved when you create it, because that's where the buy-in comes from. These folks were involved with the creation of this, and we did focus groups. That's where respect came from. You know, so many of the people just want to be respected. So yeah, you want to definitely get buy-in when you're creating that. And secondly, we talk about it all the time. Actually, our core values and our mission statement answer any and every question we might have. And so when leadership is responding with that type of comment, well, hey, let's think about, what is our mission statement? It's deliver a world-class experience. Okay, here's our two options. And it really just guides you. And so when you're speaking that and using it examples every day, it does become part of the culture.
So this is a follow-up question then. The people that were involved in creating it, of course, they have buy-in, and that's brilliant, by the way. The more people that are involved in the process, the more they own it. But then you've got people that you've hired since then that come on the team afterwards. You've talked a little bit about the hiring process is much more involved in there, but there's still that, how do you train people to perform to those values who you've hired since the process developed them?
You know, and that's tough. There's a lot of time spent at orientation on that, and they get to see it in action. And I think what really works is the group that was here, they know they have something special, and they protect that. And so when someone comes in that maybe doesn't fit that mold or is not, you know, they're not respecting those core values, they kind of police each other, and they're kind of each other's brother's keeper, so to speak. But here's another thing that we always say, because not every day and not everyone abides with the core values at all times. But tomorrow you have a whole new chance to do it. And we talk about that. I mean, I messed up today, right? But tomorrow I have a whole new chance, and it's a new day. And we have a lot of grace for those type of things.
That is wonderful. Let me jump in as well with the implementation and how that moves through the ranks, and the people who came after the formation of core values, how it impacts them. I've been very impressed with how Zappos uses their core values. They have outstanding core values, and their core values are really their true north. It's the guiding light for who they are, what they're all about. And something that they've done, which I encourage all companies to do, is they shape their interview questions around their core values. So when they're hiring, when they're selecting, the interview questions absolutely align with the core values. So they're determining in the interview process who embraces our culture, who lives our culture, who is this important to. Those are the only people we're interested in bringing into our place. So that's another way to ensure that the core values are being translated through the generations of employees who come, by bringing it all the way to the selection process, the hiring process, and making sure that there's a fit there. I'd like us to pivot to family for a little bit. Ryan, I'm here in your home tonight. I love your family. You have an amazing wife. You have 3 wonderful kids, and these kids love each other. They love mom and dad. They love God. They're awesome kids. And I've heard you stand in front of your people and talk about your priorities. You make no apologies that God is number 1 in your life, and your family is number 2 in your life, and your business is number 3 in your life, or some sequence like that. But talk to us a little bit about that, because you're a very principled guy there, and faith and family mean a lot to you. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. I firmly believe that, and it's really helped us with our employees as well, because it's so important to me. You know, God is first, always, and then my family, and then the other things like our careers. So that is so important to me, and it works for me. And then, you know, it's got to be the same for your employees, and that starts shaping your benefits, and it shapes how you deal with employees who have certain issues or needs. And you realize that a one-size-fits-all structure on handling those may not work, and it's caused us to try a lot of different things. So that our employees can enjoy their family the most they can while working in an industry like this, where there's a lot of early hours. So that's probably one of the biggest drivers behind this family feel, is we want everyone to have that opportunity to be a part of their family, be a part of their children's lives, and a part of their church. And so we've structured our work to help with that. Hasn't been easy, but we have. You know, we don't work on Sundays. We're trying to back off on Saturdays and give everybody plenty of time. And it's shaped many of our benefits as well.
There's something that you and Joe have in common. And Joe, I might let you ask the question about this, because this is pretty near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely. So I just met Ryan, but I already love the guy because he is a father of adopted children. And I love him on two levels, just on that one thread, because I was adopted as a child at age 3 weeks old. And so I know what it means to be raised by a family who loves me, who didn't have to love me. They chose to love me, right? And we even joke about, they were stuck with my sister, but me, they chose me, right? And then fast forward many years later, after I was married, my wife and I found out that due to fertility issues, we weren't going to be able to have biological children, and we had to grieve that loss because that's what we were expecting, and then pray, you know, what is in it for us? You know, what does God want for us? And eventually it led us to the adoption process, which I was, of course, already inclined to. And then God did a whole miraculous story where we now have two biological half sisters who have the same biological mother, the same birth mom, different biological dads. And my wife and I were in the delivery room for each child as they were born, and they've been with us since first breath. What's your adoption story, Ryan?
Wow, that's a great story. My wife and I had tried many years to have children, and finally, after about 13 years, we had twins. And it was God answering our prayers and giving us a double blessing. And years went by, and we really, really wanted a full house of children. And one specific Saturday, July the 7th, 2018, my children and I, my wife, at a church camp, devotional, were moved to talk about adoption, and we prayed as a family. And I asked specifically for God to please send us a child. We're not going to look for a child. Please send us a child. We'll be your humble servants. And exactly like that, 1 week to the day, we had a very unfortunate situation in our family where my niece passed away, and her child was delivered to me, and I was asked if we would consider adopting her. I didn't. I answered quickly, and they said, "No, you need to think about this." And I said, "No, we've already prayed about this. We know the answer." It was God delivering very quickly on a prayer, and it has definitely been a God thing, the whole process.
So there's the story. It's an amazing story.
Thank you.
Family, open, receptive, praying, prayer answered within a week. I'm here in the home right now. Brendan and Carly are their natural children, twins, and they're fabulous. And I've loved those kids for a number of years. We do tricks every time we come down here. We have so much fun. But now this is my first time to meet Kinsley, and what a beautiful young lady. And it's just wonderful to watch her grow up, loving God, loving life, loving her family. It's an amazing story. So thank you. It's a fabulous story.
And I have to say, Ryan, for me personally, and I'm sure this is going to be true of your own daughter, that when I found out that God himself wanted to adopt me into his family, man, that's a no-brainer, right? I get all the benefits and rights and privileges of being God's kid. I know what adoption means. Sign me up, man. I'm in.
I love it. That's a great lens to look through.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, this has been a wonderful evening. Ryan, thank you for taking time to talk to us. Thank you for your love, your leadership, your courageous leadership, your family commitment. I'm around your people. They absolutely love you. They love working for your company. And thank you for sharing your heart with us tonight. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Yep. Joe and John, I will let you say your farewell words and we'll sign off here.
Absolutely. I'm just so impressed, Ryan. Everything from family to your faith and everything you've done with your organization. I think one of the many cool things that you said today that we didn't really hone in on was you allow a safe space for people to make mistakes at work, and it's an okay thing. It is, mistakes are almost, some organizations almost celebrate mistakes. Like, yep, we did it, and shoot, but I learned from it, and tomorrow's a whole new day. I love that statement. You make mistakes one day, tomorrow's a whole new day. That is, what a great way to live. And I commend you. I'm very very honored to meet you. Thank you so much for tonight.
Hey, Ryan, if you don't mind, if we have time for one more question, kind of, I've heard this kind of dichotomy where there are some leaders, like the leader of Chipotle, who says, if you invest in your employees and you draw out the best in them, then you'll flourish. And then there are other leaders who will say, or the naysayers, they say, well, if you've ever been to a Fortune 500 company, you'll find out that that's not true, or that that's a nice platitude, but it's not really helpful in the workplace. And I hear and I see in you that not only is it true, but it's actually essential to the success of your business. And so what would you say to those who say, well, those soft skills, that sounds nice and that's happy and that's kind of kumbaya, but it's not the reality of the business workplace? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say I'm convicted because I've done it. I believed in it, and others questioned it, but we went this direction, and not just me, my whole leadership team. And I've watched a company flourish because we love on our people. We put them first. We respect them. And we just treat them with the utmost respect. It's worked. It's sustainable. And I've seen our company grow just leaps and bounds, and not just in size, but in the culture and in our thinking. So I guess I would say I've seen it happen. I've seen it firsthand. I've also seen the companies just spiral out because it was more about the product or whatever the goal was. So just based on my history, I'm a firm believer. I will be my whole life. Love on your people. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded and smarter than you. Always helps. And you will flourish using that. A servant leader type mentality style.
Fantastic. I'd love to hear that from someone who's doing it.
That's wonderful. Well, gentlemen, we do need to sign off. Ryan, for our friends who are listening, they're going to be very curious or inquisitive. I'm guessing LaurenConcrete.com. Is that where they want to be going to check you guys out?
We do have LaurenConcrete.com if they want to see us.
Take a long look. Very good. Gentlemen, thanks.
just so everybody knows, that's Lauren, Lauren, laurenconcrete.com.
That's
Perfect.
it.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, gentlemen. The very best to all of you.
Thank
God
you.
bless
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Thanks.
So on behalf of Jon Weirauch, Rick Olson, and Ryan Bartholomew, one of my newest best friends, thank you for tuning in to MoJOE Studio, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Be sure to like, share, comment, not just because we need that, but because you need that. When you've received something good, pay it forward, right? God bless you all. Well, signing out for now. This is MoJOE. Peace out.